Hello everyone, my name is Michelle Young and I'm the creator and founder of Dear Adventist. Welcome to Dear Adventist. This is my very first video and I decided that I was going to start with a little bit of an introduction just so you guys can get to know a little bit about me. I am married to Pastor Paul M. Young. He is the pastor of the Shalem Seventh-day Adventist Church in Waukegan, Illinois. Paul and I have two children. Our daughter Selah is 6 and our son Psalms is 4. I'm also the legal guardian of my aunt. She is legally disabled and I am her full-time caregiver. She lives with us. So I have two little ones that I take care of and my aunt. And I am also a teacher. I've taught in the public and in Adventist school systems over a 7-year period of time. I am the product of New York City public school education from the kindergarten to the 12th grade. I attended F.H. LaGuardia High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts. That's where I graduated in 1993. My major of study was vocal music. After completing high school, I then went on to getting a bachelor's degree in music at Westminster Choir College in Princeton, New Jersey. So my undergraduate degree is in music education. I also have a Master of Arts in Teaching Elementary Education from Andrews University. And I also have a Master's of Divinity degree from Andrews Theological Seminary in Berrien Springs as well. Okay, so that's me, that's my education, that is my work background. And so now let me tell you about what I'm doing now. So right now I am building 2 online brands. One is called Wealthy Confident Lady, basically geared towards the public. I basically make videos, mainly right now organic makeup videos, but I'm also going to be doing skincare products, hair products. I do motivational videos, spirituality videos, motivational videos to help promote healthy lifestyle and healthy living. And so that's what Wealthy Confident Lady is about. It's about helping women become more confident in who they are, helping them to embrace taking care of themselves, taking care of their bodies, because, this is like the only body that we'll ever have on this earth, and God really wants us to care for it. Then I'm also building a brand called Dear Adventist, and that's where this video comes in. And to tell you a little bit about my background growing up as a Seventh-day Adventist, I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. My parents, although my father was raised Seventh-day Adventist, he was not attending church when we were children. So I actually never attended church with my parents until I was 17. Before then, my aunt was the one who took us to church, and we would have Bible study with her on Friday nights, every Friday night, and also study with her and play games with her on Wednesday nights. So Wednesdays and Friday nights, my aunt would come over, and really I learned the Bible through her coming over and spending time with us at our home. She lived downstairs from us and we lived upstairs, and she would come upstairs and she would basically study the Bible with us. And that was how I learned the Bible. That was how I learned about Seventh-day Adventist doctrine. I also attended church every Sabbath, just about, with my aunt. There were time periods in between the time that I was an infant and 17 where I did not always attend church on Sabbath. I would go to the mall on Sabbath, I would do other things on Sabbath. So there were times when I did that. But for the most part, throughout my childhood and in my teens not so much, but throughout my childhood it was pretty consistent with me attending church every Sabbath and keeping the Sabbath. Okay, so that's a little background on me being raised as an Adventist. I was raised in a very conservative Adventist situation. The church where I grew up was in New York City on Times Square, and it was a very conservative church. There was like no clapping in the church, no drum playing. I was not really exposed to that until I was 17 and had left New York, and I had gone away to college. I was living in the Camden, Philadelphia area, and so my church experience changed a bit, and I began to see, wow, there are actually Adventist churches that, you know, have drums and, you know, clap and all those things. That wasn't my experience with Adventism growing up, and quite frankly, it was fine. I was very comfortable with the way I grew up in that very conservative environment, and I'm used to that. I adapt and I enjoy all types of services, all types of music. I have a very well-rounded background. You know, I grew up in a very musical household. My father was a musician, my aunt was a musician, and I went to school for music, and so I grew up in a very well-rounded background where I was exposed to a lot of culture, you know, especially being from New York City. You know, that's what you're exposed to. And that's pretty much my background. One of the things that I noticed, and this kind of ties in with everything that I was saying about, you know, growing up as a conservative Seventh-day Adventist, and then realizing that, you know, there were Adventists and there were churches that, you know, were not as conservative in their, I hope that I'm using the right words. If I'm not, just excuse me. I hope you understand what I mean. What I mean is, you know, there were Adventist churches that were less conservative than the one that I grew up in, and they were clapping and, you know, making noise. And at first I was like, wow, I didn't know that was acceptable, you know. But what I learned through that is that within Seventh-day Adventism, there are so many different interpretations of the scripture. There are so many different interpretations about what is okay and acceptable in terms of worship, in terms of lifestyle. I have been in situations and in circles where drinking alcohol and being a Seventh-day Adventist is acceptable. You know, I mean, as long as you're not drinking alcohol all the time. If you go to a wedding and there's a glass of champagne there are some Adventists who think there's nothing wrong with that. Then, of course, you have many Adventists who believe that we should not be promoting alcohol drinking at all. We should not be drinking at all. And, you know, when you take a stand for baptism, you know, one of our 28 fundamental beliefs, for example, I'm using alcohol as an example, is that we should not sell it, not drink it, not promote it in any way, shape, or form. So I've seen different interpretations on things like that. I've seen different interpretations on what's acceptable in terms of dress and attire, you know, jewelry wearing, makeup wearing, music. You all know, you know. I'm talking to Seventh-day Adventists, so you know what I'm saying. I believe that if we truly, truly, truly want to impact people in the world and truly impact people in other denominations, and I think sometimes it's even harder to impact people in other denominations with our message, with our, maybe not even so much with our message, just what we do with it, you know, and with our lifestyle. It's difficult sometimes for us to draw them towards us, you know, to draw them into our fold. And I think that if we want to be able to be more of a witness, if we want to be able to see more baptisms coming from other denominations, then that means that we as Seventh-day Adventists, we need to be more unified in our interpretation of the Bible, in our understanding of the scripture, because in many circles, Seventh-day Adventist circles, and in many places around the world, for example, it's not okay for women to be pastors. It's not okay for women to have ministerial positions in our church. But you might see that in other denominations that they've accepted that. And so these are all things. I'm not saying that we should change ourselves, that we should take on beliefs based upon trying to draw people into the Seventh-day Adventist church that are non-Adventists. But what I'm saying is that we need to be talking more about unification in terms of our understanding of the scripture. Because one of the things that I want to be talking about here at Dear Adventist is that our interpretation of scripture is always, well, not always, but very often, it is based upon our cultural experience. Okay? Where you're from, your society that you live in, what your society believes. This really impacts the decisions that we make as Seventh-day Adventists. It impacts the way we view the Bible and the way we interpret it. And so when we see division amongst us as Seventh-day Adventists around the world, this division is caused by cultural differences. I think that is, I want to say it's the bottom line. It really is. It really is what that's all about. It's cultural differences. And culture really defines who you are. It defines your way of looking at things. And it really shapes your views. And it will shape your view of the Bible. It will shape your view of scripture. So we're going to talk about that here at Dear Adventist. I want to talk about women's ordination and say that before we come to a place where it's accepted everywhere, I think one of the things we're going to have to really talk about is modesty. Because modesty, especially female modesty, I think is at the root of interpretation on women's role in the church. So what is Seventh-day Adventist interpretation of women's role in the church? That varies, doesn't it? That really varies, okay? And so do we have a unified stand on modesty, female modesty? And what is modesty? We need to talk about what modesty is. Okay, so that's one of the discussions I want to have here at Dear Adventist. So I've given you a couple of examples of differences that I see in our church, places where we don't always agree. But then there are places where I really think that, our doctrine is understood the same, regardless of where you live, North America, Africa, South America. It's not everything, but I'll be spending more time here at Dear Adventist discussing those controversial areas or places where we tend to just disagree a little bit. And my purpose is not to cause friction. My purpose is not for arguments. My purpose is not to break up the church. I really believe that it's important in the 21st century that we really examine ourselves, examine our church. Are we a church that's able to truly draw the world to us? How is Adventist doctrine still relevant now? in the 21st century? How is it still relevant? And how can we draw people to our church, all people, from other denominations and from outside of Christianity? Those are all topics of discussion that I'd like to have here at Dear Adventist. So anyways, I don't want to ramble anymore. That's what it's about. I'm going to look over this tape and I'm going to wonder if I've said everything that I should have said. But you know what? I'm going to be doing many videos, so whatever I left out here in this video, I'll see it in some future video that's coming. I want to try to be as normal as possible in my talk, so I am not going to always be all like formal and everything. I'm really going to be Michelle, you know, here at Dear Adventist as much as possible. Yeah. So anyways, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to Dear Adventist. Also, if you get a chance to check out Wealthy Confident Lady on YouTube, please do that also and subscribe to my channel. Like this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Also, check me out on Facebook. And I will see you in my next video. Peace and love.